food photography.
Really?
So
say that again.
I'm taking photography, like a little photography course on food, like how to photography.
Oh, okay.
Getting better on photography.
Cool.
So hopefully we can make it more work here.
See, pretty soon you're going to be a better photographer than me. I don't really do well with food. I'll take 15 pictures and they all suck.
And that's what I need to get better at it.
Yeah, and I know you need the practice, but I also don't want to be that person every time I go eat. Oh, wait, we can't eat. I gotta take a picture. Although I do take pictures and post them on my blog when, I got Drake's Cakes from New York. Mm-hmm. And, diabetic, so shouldn't be eating junk food. That's a once-a-year thing, and then I can't get too much because when the Drake's Cakes say Best by February 6th, they're best by February 6th, and if you don't eat them by the 7th or the 8th, things are growing on them. Yeah. Okay. So I can't get a whole bunch to stock up on because it's not going to work. But the last time I got a bunch of Drake's Cakes, I did take pictures and put them online. I'm like, oh, look at all this that I got. And then I was sick for a while because I ate way too many.
Too much Drake's Cakes.
I've learned over the years that, you can never get too much of a good thing is a lie. It's happened several times, and I've been stupid enough to test that. So there you go. So today we're going to talk about one of the cool places that I thoroughly enjoyed. It's got breathtaking views. When I was up there with a friend of mine, I literally should have just taken a PB&J up there with me and sat and ate my sandwich and just kind of looked around because I could probably spend a couple hours up there, take a nap up there. It is known as Bead Mountain, and if you're from Colorado, no, it is not that high. Can hike up it in about 45 minutes, but I mean, come on, we're in the prairies. It looks like a mountain out here in the prairies.
Yeah, I had this discussion a lot with people around here. What we call mountains are hills.
Yeah.
They're not mountains.
and I had a discussion with some jerk that I knew from the Netherlands. I have many good friends from the Netherlands. This guy just happened to be a jerk. And would give me crap all the time because the Appalachians aren't as big as the Alps. Like, and? What argument are you trying to have here? They're still mountains. But I don't care. Bead Mountain is awesome. I don't know if I would go hiking there this point in time. Middle of August.
It's hot.
It's hot.
Really
There's
hot.
Not really any tree cover out there. And in order to get there, there is some prairie grass standing up, but there's a bunch smushed down. So there's things that can be hidden in the smushed down prairie grass and in the upright stuff. When I was out there in the wintertime, we saw fresh paw prints. So,
Could be cats.
Yeah.
Well, and right now we've been susceptible to several flash floods, and that's very, very rare here for out in western Nebraska. We usually don't get flash floods. So when we say flash floods, they really are something that happens. Well, we were just talking about it happened in the Mitchell Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
It got flooded out in just an hour or two, I heard, and it was just a lake.
Yeah, it was amazing because I went up there on Tuesday afternoon. There was a little bit of water, not a big deal. I went, I interviewed the folks doing their rabbits. I took Wednesday off because Wednesday's my day off. If I respond to you via text or phone on a Wednesday, you're lucky. Consider yourself special because
I know better.
Because I normally don't. I usually put my phone on my keyboard tray and just don't even go near it. It's my day off. So I go back again on Thursday, and the parking lot, which is just a grassy field, water and mud everywhere. And it was difficult for me to find a flat piece of ground to park my car, and I have a little Toyota Yaris, so I don't need a lot of room to park my car. And it was tough. The first spot that I found, I parked, got out of the car, saw the handicap sign, nailed into the tree, and I'm like, well, I guess I got to go find another spot. So,
and a lot of people take for granted how serious being a couple hours out on the trail to like 2 or 3 hours. You're how many miles back you have to walk, and the sun's about to go down, and you just had a deluge of rain. If you're soaking wet, there's a very, very good chance that you'll get hypothermia and die. It is a very serious, and you don't want to be caught out in that. So yeah, definitely want to be prepared. Check your weather, and then don't trust it, and be prepared anyway.
Yeah. I used to just, I used to ignore all those warnings when I was younger, and I realize how serious they are now. Because
I got caught once out myself, and
I never got caught out, but as a reporter, I had to go out and do the stories of people that got caught out, and I'm like, I don't want that happening to me.
Yeah, I had one close call, and that was good enough for me.
Yeah, that's usually all it takes. Yeah. And when I was hiking out at Cedar Canyon with Jen a few weeks ago, we were hiking along the trail, and it's been a year now since the fire out there, and the growth is phenomenal. But it got to the point where we couldn't tell where the trail was anymore, and it was really high grass, and we had already seen one rattlesnake. And she goes, and she said it just like this, "Do you want to keep going?" And I'm like, "No, we can go back," because it wasn't really safe for us to go. Could we have, slodged our way through the high grass and kept going? Yeah, absolutely. But, you get off trail, you're not quite sure where you're at. And we were already 2 miles out. So we're already 2 miles having to come back. We were just like, let's just not test it. It was her first time out there. I told her, I said, let's go again in October when everything is kind of died down for the season, and you can see the pass and you can see some more stuff. So we'll probably go back out then, and hopefully, she's usually free on Tuesdays, so we'll have to get you free on a Tuesday, and then we can all go out there.
Yeah.
And then we'll push you towards the mountain lions while we run back to the car.
There you go.
Yeah. See? But anyway, if you want to get a sense of what it was like to travel on foot or on wagons along all of the trails coming out west, the best view is on top of Bead Mountain, which I think is one of the hidden gems out here in Scottsbluff County. It's one of my favorite places, and I'm looking forward to the fall when I can hopefully climb up it again and just go up there and just chill out. I'm still looking for a path all the way to the top that I can do by myself, because there's a spot that you get to where you have to put your foot up to climb up, and you need someone to pull you up.
Yep.
And I've been out there with my friend Steve, who is taller than me, that was able to get up by himself. Like, you probably wouldn't have a problem getting up over this one little bit.
But you need help.
Yeah, but I need a little help, and I might be able to try to do it by myself, but it would be kind of stupid, because if I fall, I'm falling a good distance, and I'm going to be seriously hurt. So,
and I'm not going to catch you.
Yeah. And you wouldn't be able to catch me. I'm just gone. So
it's kind of that scene from The Princess Bride. It's just tumbling downhill perpetually.
Yeah. So I really, really want to go back up there. I've been part way back up again, but not all the way back up, just because I haven't figured out quite a good way to get around that thing yet. And who knows, with all the rain we've had this year and the geology, not topography, of the land, it may have worn away some bits where it might be easier. I don't know, but I don't want to go by myself. But you go up there, I guarantee you're going to love the views. So Bead Mountain lies in that space between Chimney Rock and the Scottsbluff Monument. I remember the first time I climbed up there, I looked to the right and could see Chimney Rock between two other outcroppings of rocks. You could see them, they're closer to you, and then Chimney Rock a little bit more off in the distance, but you can't mistake Chimney Rock. And then you look to the left, and there's the monument. I got some okay pictures up there with my old camera that you're using now. I'm curious what my new camera will do, just because it's a new camera with new technology, and I want to see if it's the camera or the user who's taking crappy pictures. It might be me. But the views are just absolutely gorgeous. You can see the entire North Platte Valley below. You can see where people walk. And Bead Mountain is the most prominent butte on Bead Mountain Ranch's property. It's all known collectively as Bead Mountain Ranch, and it doesn't it kind of backs up onto the Wildcat Hills, but just south of it is another wildlife management area, and that I'm forgetting the name of that at the moment. But you can walk all out there. The Murphy Ranch is to the southwest. Buffalo Creek is just to the south. But you can walk on all of those areas. I have not explored all of them because every time I've had free time, it's like now, and I'm not going out there now. If you're adventurous and if you're in groups, go. But I do a lot of my hiking by myself, so I try to do things safely. So the Bead Mountain Ranch property. Can't talk today. I can't talk any day, can I? There's always words that I stumble over no matter what. The Bead Mountain Ranch property is north of the Wildcat Hills escarpments, and it's a favorite area for hikers who like to ascend buttes and who like to kind of do their own trails. There's not really any defined trails out there. The couple of times I've been out there, there's a 2-track trail that ends... oh my God, Connor, the big round silver things that the cows drink out of.
The troughs. Cattle troughs.
Oh my God. The 2-track trail kind of ends right there, which essentially is all you need your truck for, to go out there and make sure your cows got water.
Pretty much,
the trails that I have wandered a little bit on are cattle trails that I've walked on. And I haven't gone too far just because... The couple of times I have gone out there by myself, no one knew I was out there, and the cell reception was kind of crap. Mm-hmm. So, again, the older I get, the safer I try and get. 20 years ago, I would have just been like, la, 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 and not thought about what other things are out there with me. The site is open year-round, but I like to go in late fall or early spring because, 1, it's cooler, and... 2, you can be reasonably sure that there's no rattlesnakes who are going to join me on the journey. And by join me on the journey, I don't mean, slither next to me like a dog or cat would, trundle along next to me. I mean, join me on the end of my journey because I'm going to be dead. You can hike to the base of Bead Mountain, but you need to take a short walk from the little parking area through tall prairie grass like I was talking about before. And at least when you go October to April, you're not worrying about the snakes. At least I didn't, because the snakes aren't around. And when you go during that time, it allows you to pay more attention to the uneven ground and the ice and the beauty all around you. So if you just want to randomly stop and take a picture, or just randomly stop and just admire what you're seeing, you don't have to worry about, I stopped walking. Is something going to come and eat me? Because it's probably not going to happen. So Bead Mountain is a saddle-backed peak. And do you know what that means? It just kind of looks like a saddleback. So it's about 10 miles southeast of Gearing, and it's more of a butte or a bluff than a mountain. But, it's been a century. They called it Bead Mountain a century ago, so it's Bead Mountain. You're never going to change the name. It's only listed at 4,610 feet, which if you were at sea level and had to climb that high, you're like, oh my God, yes, it's a mountain.
It's so high.
But, and I don't want to fall off the edge because they're the back edge. So when you pull into the parking lot and you look at it, you're looking from north to south. But if you're on the south side of it, it's a sheer drop and you don't want to die falling off of that. Bead Mountain is the 15th highest point in Nebraska. So it is relatively high. And for, Nebraska's nothing but flat, we got the 15th highest place in Nebraska. It's high enough.
It's high enough.
So Bead Mountain is 3,100 acres, and the peak is its centerpiece, and it borders 3 other hiking areas. So the Wildcat Hills State Recreation Area lies to its southeast. Murphy Ranch Nature Conservancy is to the south, and the Buffalo Creek Wildlife Management Area is on the southeast side. They all join together, and that with all of them together, the public has more than 10,000 acres of land to hike, birds to watch, just wandering around and exploring all that you want to do. Just keep in mind, though, that if you wander from Bead Mountain all the way to the Wildcats and you end up in the visitor center, you got to walk all the way back. I don't know anybody who's going to give you a lift back out there. My friend Steve, I was talking to him the other day, and we're going to go hiking in a couple of weeks. He said there's a new trail out at the Wildcats, and I told him, I said I hadn't heard about it, and he wants to go hike out at Chimney Rock as well. So I'm hoping, I kind of want to get to a point with my writing for Inspire Today where I can just say, yep, let's go Tuesday morning. But it might be more a case of, okay, Steve, this week I've got Thursday morning open, I can go hiking. And Steve's retired, so I don't think he really cares what day. He just wants to go hiking. So the top of Bead Mountain is usually the desired destination for most people who hike out there. And there is a certain lure to making your own path to the top because it's your path. You got to make it. You got to figure out how to get up there. And the more you climb the peak, the more you're going to refine your trek, and the longer amount of time you can spend just breathing in that crisp autumn air at the top, or I guess the fall air by then. October would be autumn. It wouldn't be autumn anymore, would it? It'd be more fall, right?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Whatever, man. We're not scientists. I was trying to be all fancy when I wrote this article, and whatever. It's really cool up there. There's cool breezes. You can just kind of breathe in and take in the scenery. And as much as I do write, it's really, really hard for me to describe how awesome the views were up there. And if you actually, the picture of me on the top of my website when you go to my blog, and there's a picture of me crouched down taking a picture. My friend Steve took that, and that's on top of Bead Mountain.
Oh, nice.
So I definitely want to get back up there. But anyway, it's cool up there. So I wrote this next bit in an article that I wrote for Wyobraska magazine. I think I've written it on my blog as well. I don't know, because I've told and retold this story so many times. You can only rewrite it so many ways. So anyway, according to local legend, before the pioneers arrived and settled in the area, the Northern Cheyenne and Brule Sioux used Bead Mountain as a burial site. The Native Americans conducted the funerals on the side of the mountain, and many years later, settlers found a variety of artifacts, including beads used in the funerary clothing lying on the ground atop and around the area, as well as many stories of people finding ants carrying the beads away, thus giving the mountain its name. Which I thought was kind of cool, and I don't think they buried the Native Americans 6 feet under. They took them up there, did their ceremonies and stuff, and that's why the beads were there. I'm not totally sure, because this is about the extent of the legend. I've never met a Native American that knows the story that could tell anything more. So because there's no trail to the top, all the hiking in the Bead Mountain Ranch area is considered off trail, and blaze your own path wherever you're going, whether it's to the summit or all around on the ground. My first hike to the top was in late winter. It was tempting and easy to follow the cow trail part of the way up, but as cows tend to be smarter than humans, the trail only goes so far. So you're on your own to figure out how to get up the steeper steps once you get to the closer to the top, especially for short people like me. And I should say short. I'm 5'4", so I'm not super short, but I am not the average height of a woman. And it does present some problems sometimes when I try to hike places, just because some of those steps are steeper that I can't pull myself up on my own. And I'm sure there's ways around, and I could have figured ways around, but my friend Steve is like 6 feet. So it was just much easier. Steve had been up there before, just to follow Steve. And when we got to the top where the cow trails ended, I was there with him and his daughter, and she and I just followed him where he was going. Mm-hmm. And when we got to that point, she and I are roughly the same height. She's a little bit taller than me. He just climbed up on that bit, bent down, and yanked both of us up, and we just kept on going. So much of the topography of western Nebraska, again, I'm thinking topography is wrong. Topography is maps. And I'm writing topography. So the landscape, the ground, the dirt, whatever, it's sandstone out here, and Bead Mountain is no different than any of the other places around here. So as I got closer to the center of the summit, the ground turned from icy snow to cold sandstone, and that crumbled away from my feet very, very easily. I made several, you put your foot down and then you push several times to make sure your foot is on a firm footing before you start going anymore. It's best to do that, because there were times where I thought I was on some just packed snow, and then like the third time I pushed, the snow moved and there was some dirt. Oh. So once I got up high enough that I knew if I slipped and fall, I was falling, 5, 6, 7, 800 feet. I was making sure my steps were okay. So just, be very, very careful when you go up on some places that you are stable. The hike to the top really isn't that difficult, providing you take the necessary precautions and pay attention to where you're climbing. The ground is uneven along the top, but it's flat and wide enough that you don't need to worry about falling over the edge. I would say, let's see, Connor, if you and I stood next to each other, it'd be like 8 or 9 pairs of us wide. Okay. So it's definitely wide enough that you don't have to worry, like, if you tried to step around a little bit of uneven ground, you're going to fall 500 feet and die. You're fine. So once you're up top, don't worry about falling over the edge. But once you're on top, the panoramic views are breathtaking and worth whatever mishaps you had getting up there. Chimney Rock, which, like I said before, is the landmark on the Oregon Trail, is to the east, and the Scottsbluff National Monument is to the west. And you can stand up there all day and take pictures all day of it if you want. In 2023, a 23-mile journey between Chimney Rock and Scottsbluff National Monument is a 28-minute car ride. Pioneers who walked that distance would spend about 8 hours to cover that distance, possibly longer. That's 8 hours along the highway today. And granted, the highway is the old Oregon Trail, but the highway wasn't a nice, even paved bit of land. So I'm guessing it probably took them around 10 hours or so to get between the. So that's a day's walk.
Yeah.
And if you look around the ground from time to time while you're hiking up there and all around, you can see remnants of other animals. The time I was up there with my friend Steve, we found a turtle shell, and we stood there for a good 4 or 5 minutes going, how did this turtle shell get up here? Because there's no way that turtle climbed up there. And we were looking at how the shell was cracked and stuff, and so we just kind of presumed that it was some kind of raptor, grabbed a turtle, dropped it, got it busted out of there, ate the turtle, and the shell's still up there. I do have pictures of the shell, but being a good anthropology major, I took pictures and left the shell there. At least in the cooler months, human footprints are going to be rare, but you're not going to see really much of anything spoiled by man up there. You might see some footprints, but the folks that do go up there respect the area. They don't leave crap up there, which is good, because then I want to go find those people and smack them with, when I went out and burned my old journal at Lake Minnetonka, and I went out there because you know where my house is because you're sitting in it right now. There's no safe place here for me to burn something. And Lake Minnetonka has out on Sunrise Beach, they got this little pavilion with a burn pit with a chimney.
Yep,
so
that's right,
okay, so you know where that's at. That's where we went to do it.
Okay. Nice.
And when we were done, we went out to Sunrise Beach. And while I did get this very cool empty beer bottle partially covered in sand, which is on my blog too, it just made me angry that, so you had a beer and you couldn't be bothered to put it in the garbage can on your way out, which you had to pass in order to get back to your car. Oh, your lighter went empty. You couldn't be bothered to put it back in your pocket and dispose of it normally. It just kind of makes me mad that humans are jerks like that. It just destroys the niceness of things. But you don't get that at Bead Mountain. It's all nice and pristine. Your human evidence is whatever footprints you see up there. So if you go up there and you stand on the top and you've spent lots of time looking at the view below, take a minute and close your eyes and listen. When I was up there, I could hear birds in the distance. My eyesight isn't as good, apparently, as my hearing. I could hear the birds, but I couldn't spot where they were. Now, they could have been sitting in treetops, too, and I missed them. But I could hear them, and there are more than 120 species of birds that either nest in or visit the Bead Mountain area, including mountain bluebirds, bald eagles, and hawks. And I have seen hawks up there. I haven't seen any bald eagles up there. I know people that have seen them up there, but I just go on the days the hawks are there, I guess. And the mountain bluebirds are highly visible from early spring to late fall. Oh, there, Irene, if you just remember what you actually wrote. That's why I don't ever see them, because I only go there in the winter time. So they buggered off someplace else. You can also see deer, turkey, rabbits, and antelope in the area. The canyon area is this lush green up through probably mid-October. It's gorgeous down in the canyon area, and photographers like going down there and taking pictures too, because it's just a very, very pretty area. And the cow drinking thing, the trough, God, right by it, there's this cool windmill that I got some cool pictures of too. So sometime if you want to go out there with me, we can just walk down that two-track trail to the cow trough, and we'll have plenty of photos, even if we didn't get out to hike out there.
And those windmills are often connected to cisterns to keep the pumps going. So
I didn't look closely, but I think there was. That's usually the
reason they have them out there.
Yeah, the first time that I was down there by that windmill, it was just so much to take in, and I'm like, oh, that looks cool, and that looks cool, and that looks cool, that I didn't actually stop to think, oh, is the windmill attached or not? So when you climb back down, it's a lot easier, but if you go in the winter and there's snow on the ground,
take a sled.
Yes. Oh, I should have done that. Do you know why you need to take your time and go slow?
Why?
Well, I do believe I wrote here, you'll fall flat on your butt.
That's why you need a sled.
Because I did that 5 times.
You wouldn't have done that if you had a
If
sled.
I had a sled. Yep, should have had a sled. And if you go with your friends and you fall and you're at the back of the pack, they don't stop for you. They just keep going. But they also don't notice that you fall, and you can stand up and wipe your butt real quick and be like, oh, I'm okay, I'm cool, I'm cool. And nobody notices that you fall. So that's a good thing too. But sound also carries out there, because Steve went way ahead of us. And so his daughter Sarah and I were talking as we're walking down, and every now and then he would turn around and shout a reply to whatever we were talking about, and I'm going, dude, you're like 50 yards away, and we're only talking this loud. And he heard us clearly. So if you're going to talk smack about Steve, he's going to hear you. We weren't, but it's good just in case. Because I'll just talk smack to Steve to his face, and he'll give it right back to me. So when you get back on the ground, don't walk back to the parking lot. Go further into Bead Mountain Ranch. The research I've done says there's like 40 miles of canyons there, 3 natural springs, and several riparian water holes. I have not found any watering holes, but I'm not prone to do 40-mile hikes in a day, so I just didn't go long enough. According to the Platte River Basin Environments, which is the Preby stuff, and I would much rather say Preby, clumps of skunk bush, sumac, golden currant, and chokecherries can be found in abundance in the canyons and approaches to the escarpments. Wild grapes climb century-old cottonwood and pine trees in the canyon spring areas. So I miss those as well, but again, I didn't really go too far into them.
And you'd have to go more in the fall if you really want to see that in its best.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go by myself out there. So I'll get some other sucker to go out there with me. So we can die together. And I'll be like, hey, you just keep pushing the shutter down, taking pictures, I'll flip the video, and we'll have both for our death. So that's all along the 2-track trail road, and you can get into the surrounding canyons. It's about 2 miles on the 2-track road to get to that windmill that I was talking about. And then if you go past that, you're blazing your trail again into the forested canyon. I went a little bit in there. I don't know, like maybe another 5-minute walk into there, and then came back out. There's a little game trail there that you can follow, so you know you're relatively safe, because if the animals are going to walk there, you're going to be able to walk there. And the first canyon that you go into, there was a bunch of cottonwoods there, and it was a nice little canopy to take a break, sit down, write, and think, or whatever you want to do out there before you keep going. But to me, I don't think it really matters if you go when it's covered in snow or the lush green prairie, which would be nice to see this time of year now that there's all that rain. Yes. So maybe I should go out there before. You and I should plan a day to go out there.
You should.
And before all the green goes away. And if you go out there with me, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to be like, Connor, it's a bunny. We need to take a picture of it.
So I can eat it.
No, damn it. No. I'm gonna check Connor's pockets when we go to make sure there's nothing in them other than his hand that he can use to pet the bunny. So if you're a hiker, photographer, just somebody who likes to wander around, you got thousands of acres out here with buttes, canyons, forests, lots of different rock formations that's unique to the area, a couple of small springs, and a good chance you're going to see lots of wildlife out here. I'd still take my zoom lens with me just in case, because some little animals, sometimes the little bunnies let you get close to them. Most of the time they don't. Bighorn sheep are not going to let you get close to pet them. So no. Zoom lens is good. Yeah. A 6 to 7 mile hike is easily attained at Bead Mountain without exhausting yourself too much. It's really comfortable, quiet. There's a little serenity to the whole area. You might come across some cows because it is cattle land, but the couple of times I've been there, I haven't. And
if you don't bother them, they won't bother.
Yeah, and the last time I was out there, there were cow patties that were relatively recent, so they had been in the field recently. But whenever you go out there, make sure you take enough water. Bring yourself some snacks.
Stay hydrated.
Yes. I think water, snacks. Bring your cell phone.
Yeah, bring your cell phone just in case.
Yeah. There is, God forbid anything serious happen and your phone doesn't work, there is a ranch house. I think it's a whole ranch, like a quarter of a mile from the parking lot. So you're not that far from someone if your phone didn't work,
Yes.
And I'm sure the closer you got, if you started screaming, somebody would come out. Hope, or at the very least, they'd pick up their phone and say, "There's some guy running towards my house screaming," and then the police would come, and you'd be okay. So, Bead Mountain Ranch is a privy land, but it is open to hunting, and it has to be more than 200 yards from an occupied dwelling or feed lot. So that house is probably your best judge of, are you within that 200-yard area? You cannot camp, have open fires, do paintball or target shooting there. And be nice to the cattle. Don't go up and pet them. Leave the cattle alone. Just let them do their cow things. It's probably okay to go up to them and moo, because everybody does that. And the only way to get up up Bead Mountain is to get to the base, which is through that tall prairie grass. So just be mindful of what time of year it is and what you're going to be approaching. There are 2 ways to get to Bead Mountain. You can travel south on Highway 71 to County Road W and turn east or left and travel along the dirt road for approximately 3 miles until you reach a bend in the road. And instead of going left on the bend, just drive into the parking lot. Bead Mountain is slightly southeast from the parking lot and across the field, but you can see it once you get into the parking lot. I'm not going to attempt the directions for the other way because that's the way I go. It's the easiest way for me to get there. My friend Steve goes the other way.
So look it up, people.
It might be easier for other people. I mean, you literally can just type in Bead Mountain, Gearing, Nebraska, and it'll pop up on the map. So it's very easy to get to. It's just for whatever reason, that other way, I always get kind of mixed up and lost. And then it's all dirt roads back there, and it's very easy to get turned around back there. So for me, I just go down the highway, hang a left, go to the end instead of going around the bend. And if you go around the bend, you're going to drive into that house ranch thing like a quarter of a mile away, and you'll be like, oh, I just went too far. So once you're there, you're there. It's not that hard to figure out. That's all I got for Bead Mountain today.
Look it up, folks.
Go visit any time of the year. Would love to hear what you guys think about it, because I think I've probably used my thesaurus worth of synonyms to describe how awesome it is on top. So if someone has a different synonym, that'd be great to hear. Otherwise, we'll be back next time with more stories about the history of this area, places you can go, and whatever else we want to talk about.
Yep. See you next time. Thanks for listening to Storytelling on the Plains, a podcast about the history of western Nebraska. If you enjoyed this episode, visit our website, storytellingontheplains.com, where you can subscribe to the show through a variety of podcast hosts so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to support the podcast, visit patreon.com/storytellingontheplains, where you can get the episodes early and bonus content. You can also help promote the show by sharing the podcast with others, posting social media, or leaving us a rating on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, thanks for listening to Storytelling on the Plains.